Sometimes, to find a Wild West treasure, you have to get, well, a little Wild West. Join me, Joanna Skye, as I head on up to Wyoming to see if I can find a lost cabin worth millions, or at least a stream worth hundreds, next time on Lost Legends of the West. Most legends start by campfires, deathbeds, or the most popular location, thanks to drinks like gin and whiskey, a saloon. A guy who went by the name Hurlburt and some of his friends headed into a saloon in South Pass City, Wyoming, like usual. This visit would be different and forever change their lives. An old man sitting at the bar slowly began to tell them about an abundance of gold he found in the Wind River mountain range. Without hesitation, they decided to pack up and embark on the adventure to find this treasure. After weeks of camping and panning, nothing was turning up. Finally, when they were about to give up hope, they found the mine shaft. It is unbelievable and will take months to mine out. A quick decision was made to build a cabin near the small stream and get to work. All of the gold they mined was safely hidden under the cabin floor. One day, as Hurlburt was finishing up at the mine, he heard gunshots from the direction of the cabin, but he figured that his partners were just getting dinner. Upon his quick return, he found his partners dead and several Indians searching the cabin. Knowing they were not interested in the gold, Hurlburt knew it was best to get out of there before they shot him, and so he fled into the mountains. As Hurlburt headed for South Pass City, he was hit by terrible snowstorms and blizzards. He dropped his gun down a cliff and was forced to eat tree bark and dirt. Weeks later, he fortunately was picked up by a stagecoach on its way to South Pass City and taken back with them to where he told his tale at the saloon. Although still pretty sick, he desperately wanted to organize a search party to go and recover the gold. But with the harsh Wyoming winter approaching, the men all refused. Hurlburt soon left the town to spend winter elsewhere. A couple years later, he came back and organized a search party, but had no luck relocating the mine. People will come through South Pass City and tell the tale of a rich mine in the mountains or an old cabin. They are then told the story of Hurlburt and are excited to go back, but no one can find the mine or the cabin. So what happened to this cabin with a golden floor? Hi, I'm Joanna Skye, and in the next several days, I'm going to try and find clues and leads to hopefully find this lost cabin. So join me for another adventure-filled Lost Legends of the West.
Every legend has some truth. Every truth has some legend. We find the truth in the legend.
I'm Joanna Skye, and welcome to Lost Legends of the West. Since the late 1700s, log cabins have been enmeshed into American history, folklore, and myth. Here in historic South Pass City, many log cabins, such as the one behind me, still stand today. Over 150 years ago stood the log cabin that Hurlburt and his two friends lived in while they were searching for gold in the Wind River Range in Wyoming. At the turn of the century, J.H. Osborne found some gold nuggets in a stream also in the Wind River Range. What he also found nearby were the remains, just the foundation and a fireplace, of a log cabin resembling that of Hurlburt's. When Osborne got to downtown South Pass City and told of his find, only then did he realize that the real treasure was the log cabin with over $90,000 of gold hidden beneath it. Let's go to downtown South Pass City now, where many accounts of our legend have been shared. Today, more than 100 years later, who knows what the cabin looks like? I'm going to talk to my friend Scott at the South Pass City Historic Society and see if he can help us.
By 1869, the population was up to around 700 people. By 1870, it had jumped close to 2,000 people. And it stayed there around 1,500 to 2,000 people until 1872. And then the census records after that time start indicating the bust had come and the people were moving out.
Scott was kind enough to take the time to show me around Wyoming's City of Gold while explaining the importance of South Pass City to American history. For example, Esther Hobart Morris, a resident of South Pass City, was appointed the town's Justice of the Peace, making her the first woman to hold a political office in the entire U.S. The event in South Pass City ultimately contributed to women's suffrage in the U.S. with the passage of the 19th Amendment granting women the right to vote. The history of the town's name really goes back to the days of Lewis and Clark, who first came through the South Pass, the only route through the Rocky Mountains and onto the west. This South Pass is also the marker where the Oregon Trail and the Continental Divide cross. My guided tour ended at the town's jail, where a former prisoner's writings on the wall remain visible. Scott then introduced me to another ranger who answered a few more questions for me. How long do these log cabins last?
Once it depends on how long the building was lived in or used, how long it was maintained, things of that nature. The Carissa Saloon was built in the early 1890s. By the time the state got it, it was still in fairly decent shape. Essentially no log work has been done on that one. The Exchange Saloon right across the street, by the time the state got it, both buildings were practically laying on the ground.
No records state the name of the saloon where our legend was told, but I'd bet it was the Exchange that heard our story first. Just when I was about to leave South Pass City for lunch, I ran into a local Indian school here on a field trip who were all about to sit down for lunch and graciously invited me to join them. I quickly learned that according to custom, it would be rude to refuse the offer. Besides, it's not like me to turn away a meal. Although, I was more excited to sit and chat with the girls and learn from them. They were here to learn the history and importance of South Pass City, as was I. We definitely had a good time, not to mention a great lunch. And it was time now to continue my journey and head towards the Wind River mountain range in search of my golden cabin. Right outside South Pass City is one of the largest remaining mines, not in use of course. And naturally, I had to get a closer look. But the closer I got, the more danger, keep out signs I saw, and so obeying the signs, I kept my distance strictly to the outside. Everything, though, including tools and equipment, was left as is from 150 years ago. After the history I just learned about in the area, I had to take advantage of the opportunity to travel on the Great Trail, the only trail that brought thousands out here, the Oregon Trail. I was told to look for old wagon ruts in the land, off of the main road, of course. I'm having a difficult time, even in a four-wheel drive vehicle. I can't imagine how the wagon trains made it through. Here are the old ruts, and I'm driving on them. I can't believe they are still here. Well, I guess 25 years of traveling would make an impact. And it has certainly made a great impact on the Old West. Here at the Continental Divide, these wagon trains crossed the Rockies, part of the 5-month journey that embraced the great concept of manifest destiny. Just imagine accidental gunshots, cries from the suffering of diseases, and constant fear from Native American attacks while walking barefoot for more than 2,000 miles. That's what more than 500,000 people experienced to make it out west by way of the Oregon Trail. This was the only practical path to the entire western United States. My first stop this morning on the Wind River Indian Reservation was to pay my respects to Sacagawea. Many believe she returned to her Shoshone people where she died and was buried in 1884. I've been in many dangerous mines, endless caves, and crossing this bridge is the scariest journey yet. Why am I carrying logs? Simple. I'm tired of hiking. No, really, I thought it would be more time efficient and more fun to build a good old-fashioned mode of water transportation, a raft, to help me look for the cabin along the water. This'll work. I'm basically looking for pieces of wood that are already dead, so this way I'm not killing any trees. And ones that are about this size so that I can put them together and tie them to make a raft to get down the river faster. After gathering the logs, I had to saw them to equal sizes. So I'm going to use 2 structural beams as the basis, and then we're going to line up the other logs perpendicular to the bottom beams, and then we're going to tie them together with rope and head on down the river and go looking for some gold. I just want to put down 2 structural beams on top to secure the raft, and then we'll tie them together. Here's the challenging part. How to not sink. I sit? Do I stand? I think I have more balance this way. Balance was definitely the key. Now that I'm sitting, I have it all under control. But I'm not seeing any cabins, and I'm slowly losing my raft. It's time to bring this baby ashore. Yeah, they don't make wood like they used to. Although it was a lot of fun, I think I'm gonna hike from here. And but first I'm gonna clean this up and then we'll get going. At the base of the mountains, I came across a horse ranch, and it turns out Skip, the owner, runs week-long camping and riding expeditions into the mountains. Before I could ask him some questions, I had to help bring the horses into their trailers for their next trip. If anyone has seen anything out of the ordinary, it would be him.
Then up in the Wind Rivers I found one, and I still remember where it's at. But it was an old log cabin and a mining shaft right next to it.
Really?
And I could never find out why it was there or what they were mining.
What was left of the log cabin?
It was just pretty much just, you know, just trampled down. There wasn't much left.
But you remember where it is?
Yeah.
Is it in the South Wind River Range?
Well, it's in Bill's Park.
Really? Was there a stream nearby?
Yeah.
Or there was a stream?
Yeah, they were about 50 feet away from it.
So without Skip's help, without a horse, and without provisions, I would not survive the quest for this cabin on this trip. So unfortunately, I must save that adventure for another time. But I'm not leaving here without some gold. I'm in a stream at the base of the Wind River mountain range in Wyoming. Here is where most miners went ahead and panned for gold. I'm going to do the same with my pan, and this is exactly what the miners used back in the 1800s, except theirs would have been metal. Today, what a lot of miners use is actually plastic. Let's go ahead and get a good scoop of the gravel and dirt and sand and hope that there's some gold in there. You want to completely fill your pan with water and begin to go side to side so that you get some of the larger rocks and sediment out of there and allow the gold to settle to the bottom since it's the heaviest. You also don't even want to start to look for the gold until you can actually see the bottom of your pan. You've got some of the rocks out. You can see the larger ones, you can pick them out. Let's try it again. Fill the pan with water, go side to side. At this point, once you start getting lower, you can start to swirl it. And this will help get the heavier concentration of dirt and sand out of your way. And if you want, you can even sort of get it towards the edge to get it out. You just don't want to lose that gold. Looks like we need some more clean, good water. Fill that up, and we'll continue to swirl. I've been doing this for at least 10 minutes. I've got it down to a thin layer of water over top, and look at this. Look, 1, 2. There's another one. Look at all these gold flakes. The American poet Henry Van Dyke stated, "The goal of his journey may be won. He may rest, but he is never idle. 1,000 years may pass like a day in glad surprise of paradise, when work may be sweeter than play." I think I definitely played on this episode. Horseback riding, Tom Sawyer rafting, and gold panning. But it was not playing to the people in South Pass City 150 years ago. It was work and a way of life. From building the raft, I can't imagine building a log cabin as Hurlburt did in the winter to protect his treasure. And with Wyoming's winters fast approaching, it would be dangerous for me to go out and explore Skip's report of a log cabin 5 days' journey into the Wind River Range. If you remember, Skip reported seeing a log cabin that fits the description of the cabin in our legend, and this report is 100 years after the last supposed sighting of the cabin. Could the legend be true? We may not know for now, but what we do know is that this legend lives on. Until next time, I'm Joanna Skye, and this has been Lost Legends of the West.